Hello. Man, I'm really hot and I'm going to miss the interjections of my Twitter followers who usually get to respond to me via Periscope. But here we go anyway. I wanted to talk today about Tucker Carlson. There's just been some comments released, audio footage of him talking on a radio show to a chap called Bubba the Love Sponge. Oh wow, the light's so bright in here. Is there anything I can adjust to it? All right. Yeah. Uh, and in a more broad sense of thought, how can we move towards embracing men and not rejecting them collectively, and not restricting ourselves to dwelling on faults, but at the same time not ignoring the very real and very significant problems of violence against women, including pretty scary statistics about domestic violence. And in America, domestic violence is even scarier because of the prevalence of guns. So women who own guns to protect themselves are still much more likely to be shot with those guns than someone who doesn't have guns in their household. So it's all about perception. And if feminism is perceived as rejecting the goodness that men collectively have to offer, then we might be rejected as being too negative. And the world at present is suffering from a surfeit of people embracing hypermasculine, totalitarian, aspirational despots like Trump. And maybe the facts on the ground are starting to filter through to some people, enough so that the Democrat Party in the US had a pretty resounding, "Yay, Brenda, you found me!" Oh, that's great. A pretty resounding victory in the midterm elections. But it's still a problem. We still need to do so much more to undermine the hold that Trumpism and that type of hypermasculine conservatism has on the hold of American imaginations and around the world. So why is it that that has still sway? Progressivism is often an agent for change, and we need to make sure that we have effective opposition to social progress, because too much social progress and then you change at a pace beyond society's ability to adapt and keep the baby in with the bathwater. So change can be fast. The conservative movement should be the people who can try to advocate for some degree of continuity. So to have enough change to keep us stimulated, challenged, and moving towards more ideal ways of existing with each other. But at the same time, conservatism in America has been lost to ignoring criminality, ignoring corruption, ignoring Trump selling American foreign policy interests out to other countries. Russia, Saudi Arabia, we can add China to that list, now that we know there were human trafficking leaders selling access to Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago by virtue of selling tickets to Chinese nationals that they were then illegally recompensed for. Let me make this more simple, because that was getting a bit involved. If you've heard of Cindy Yang, then you'll know she was a massage spa chain owner. She founded the Orchid Day Spa that was recently busted with Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, whatever sport that's for. It's a ball sport. It's got a bat in it. Americans love it. Baseball. Robert Kraft was busted in a prostitution sting, but it's been suggested that those women were people who had been deceived in why they were coming to America and then made to work in a massage parlor that offered sexual services under the auspices of being a massage parlor. So Cindy Yang has a lot of evidence linking her to human trafficking, in that she also recently owned a series of spas that are still operating, Tokyo Day Spas, but they have been transferred in ownership to her husband. And she has opened a new business called GY US Investments that involves selling access to Mar-a-Lago. So Chinese nationals were able to buy tickets to events, Republican fundraising events, and get to meet Donald Trump and get to meet his children, etc. This is a big scandal, because American foreign policy shouldn't be for sale. This is one of the reasons why you have the emoluments clause. Hey, Steve! Domestic and foreign parts of the emoluments clauses of the Constitution to prevent a president from taking money from sources other than the income that he's paid as president. So the emoluments clause states that the president should only receive the presidential salary and should derive no income from selling goods or services. And this is precisely so that the president doesn't start to be personally invested in business deals or transactions with foreign countries, with businesses in America that he may then be predisposed to giving favors to changing American foreign policy to favor them in exchange for their business and their money flowing into his or her pockets. Talking about a hypothetical president there, but of course that is exactly what Donald Trump is doing. Foreign diplomats from around the world know to stay in Trump Hotel in an attempt to curry favor with Donald Trump. And there are people on the right of America. Evangelical Christians are the predominant demographic now that's still, sorry, I should clarify that, white evangelical Christians are the remaining demographic in which Trump enjoys a majority approval rating. More people approve than disapprove of him amongst that demographic. So those people are so keen to push back against what they perceive to be presumably the influence of the devil, i.e. progressive Americans who have fought for desegregation of schools, desegregation of American businesses, and then also for the inclusion of women in public life, equal rights to employment or opportunities for employment, etc. So if you look at evangelical Christians, and they must have had such a chip on their shoulder to be able to be so enthusiastic about a man whose criminality has been so blatant in so many respects, both before he ran and after. And even when more news comes out, some people can still muster up, I'm shocked that Donald Trump will do this, and other people are weary and saying, well, we're not shocked anymore. But what direction can they respond in when their capacity to be outraged has almost burnt out like an overused electrical element? What else did I say I was going to talk about? Tucker Carlson, who made some comments in which he called for the execution of a man, Michael something beginning with V, who had abused dogs. He said, if I wrote the laws, Michael so-and-so would be executed and Warren Jefferson would go free. Yes, some of them think that Trump was sent by God. And that, I think, indicates the degree to which they felt they were not achieving anything under Obama, that their response to socially progressive moves and to having an African-American man lead America has been, and I'm going to add 9/11 to this now as well, I'm going to say they have felt so under attack from social progress, but also literally from an attack on America. The shadow of 9/11 is long because it was a war that was not anticipated, a surprise attack like Pearl Harbor, but Pearl Harbor was then followed by American involvement in a war. And so people, like if you've been in an argument and you've been physiologically aroused by feeling attacked or criticized by someone, you'll know it takes a little bit for that energy to dissipate. So in World War II, America was attacked. Being involved in a war dissipated at an emotional level that feeling of wanting to redress the wrong of being attacked. And look, I mean, Japan incurred significant human casualties from being bombed by Americans following that war. So I'm now going to bring in an analogy of being a parent. If you're a parent and a child challenges your authority, you can have a strong degree of physiological arousal, like, how dare you defy my authority? It's based on your own preconceptions about what you think children should do and how they should behave and how much you think they should obey you. But you can have quite a strong physiological arousal to that, contingent on how much power you think you should have yourself. So America was powerful, thought it was doing all right. Japan bombed it, and the emotional arc of that story didn't appear to be spent until two atomic bombs had been dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and hundreds of thousands of people killed immediately and then also dying subsequently from radiation poisoning over a number of years. So after 9/11, you had an emotional energy at a collective level on the part of the American public saying, how can we get redress from this wrong? How can we show our might? And how can we dissipate this energy and this outrage that we have? If you attacked us, we will smash you. And I'm laughing, which is a terrible thing to laugh at, because Iraq was smashed. Hundreds of thousands of people again died. Civilian casualties as a consequence of American might, wanting to say, do not even consider attacking us again. We will protect ourselves. We will preemptively strike people who we even suspect of attacking us, even if we're wrong. And a lot of Americans ended up being dismayed by the outcome of that, and that they were wrong. But other people are probably fine with having been wrong about Iraq and wrong about the weapons of mass destruction and it having been faulty intelligence. Oh, I don't think... I was doing this video in the kitchen so that I could motivate myself to wash dishes. But that's not happening, is it? I will next time choose a location that has better lighting, because it's just offensive to look at myself with such a white face. Whitey McWhitey. Although I don't want to play into the trope of lefty progressivists hating or having an antipathy for whiteness. So that's just an aside. I will say goodbye. I hope people enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for listening, Brenda, if you're still there, and if not, that's also cool. And I'll work on getting more